So welcome to Tamarah's Closet today. Today, for the first time, I'm actually very excited because I'm actually going to be interviewing the lead vocals for a bluegrass band. So I haven't had a bluegrass band on my show yet, so I'm really, really excited. And I have to tell you, when I heard about this band, a friend of mine told me about it, and I immediately Googled them on YouTube, and I listened to their song, Second Time Around. And I got to tell you, this song instantly took me to a place and time in my life where it was actually a time when I was showing horses and I was surrounded by country music and as well as bluegrass music. And I just immediately remembered one of my favorite scenes also in the movie The Horse Whisperer with Robert Redford.
I love that movie.
It was just a great movie, and it had great music, and it just immediately took me to that. And those were all very happy times in my life. So being the horse lover that I am, I've always appreciated and liked bluegrass music, country music, and it just instantly sets the stage for the country setting, which was so familiar to me, and being surrounded by nature and horses. So as I listened to this beautiful voice of this really petite young woman and watched these four musicians crowd around this little microphone, I fell in love with this band, and I immediately contacted them right away because I wanted to book them on my show, and here we sit today. So I have to tell you a little bit there. The 2014 IBMA Momentum Awards winner for Band of the Year, the CMT says they are one of the most promising bands on the bluegrass scene today. So without any more delay, I want to bring to you and introduce you today the lead vocals for the band, the Barefoot Movement, Noah Wall. So Noah, I want you to say hello real quick so I know that you're still over there with me.
Hello, I'm here.
Good. Noah's been great because she wasn't feeling good earlier this week. She's getting over or something, so just bear with us today. We had a few technical issues as well, but I wanted to go right into it because Noah's going to be performing tonight, so I want to move right along. And Noah, I want to, music is such a powerful emotional contrivance. It's just almost instantaneously, it can, like I said, take us to a particular place in time, and it can be either happy or a sad time, but it either way, it's just an immediate reaction that the listener entails, and it's spontaneous, and it's not even something that we control. When we just hear a song, it takes us somewhere. And so your music, as I said, for me, immediately took me to a very happy place in a very serene country setting with horses being on the top of the list. So I wanted to ask you about, because you were exposed to music very young. When you were 4 years old, you were familiarized with Blind Melon. And I read that, or saw in a video interview you did, your mom had bought their album with No Rain on it. What about this song intrigued you, and how did it play a role in influencing you in your passion for music? Because I know you even made a video with Brad Smith, the writer of No Rain, later.
Yeah, I just always loved that song. I mean, I grew up listening to all kinds of music. I liked rock and roll, and my parents really loved the acoustic bluegrass stuff. And you know, when you're playing music of your own, sometimes it's just fun to do a song you like just for the heck of it. And I just could hear upright bass on that song, and a lot of times I'm drawn to the bass lines of a song, and I feel like that can kind of determine whether it would be a good fit for acoustic music or not, as if the bass line is cool. And obviously Hazy, our bass player, doesn't play what they play on the recording, but I could hear the rhythm making sense in an acoustic way. And so yeah, we just started to play that song, and then, you know, just through word of mouth and through a friend of a friend, we ended up meeting the guy that wrote it. And so it just goes to show that, you know, you put good vibes out into the universe, maybe they'll reward you sometime.
Yeah. Well, when you were 4 and you were listening to it, when you were that young and your mom had bought it, were you just surrounded by all different types of music, or were your parents into bluegrass, or?
Yeah, absolutely. They were into both. My parents grew up in, the 60s and 70s, so they were into all the classic rock, and they particularly liked, bands that kind of leaned a little acoustic, like Led Zeppelin has some acoustic stuff, and bands like America, my mom loves them, and the Eagles. So she loved heavy metal, but she also liked the rootsy sounding stuff, and so it all just kind of came together in acoustic music and bluegrass. And so, yeah, we were always exposed to both when I was growing up. Yeah.
Right. Well, I know you're from Oxford, North Carolina, and I read you were playing the fiddle in your teens. Was that the first instrument you ever played? And how old were you when you really to play the fiddle?
I actually started taking lessons in the 2nd grade, and I always say I was just such a busy kid that I didn't really know if that was what I wanted to do for a long time, and so it was just kind of something that I just did once a week at my lessons and didn't really practice that hard until I got older, and really I think my most natural and first love was singing. And so I started to write songs, and then I think I just said, I can sort of play this instrument, maybe I should put a little more time into it. And so that would have been in my teens when I started to take it more seriously in high school. So yeah, but it had been in my hands since the 2nd grade.
Was there someone in your family or maybe a teacher at school that noticed that you had really talent in, or
My mom was a musician, and so was my grandfather, and my mom's brother and sister, all of them could play guitar. And I think she pretty much knew that I would probably be musical, just with all that sort of behind me. So she just decided to put me in fiddle lessons. We didn't have an orchestra or anything at my school. My school was pretty poor. They had band, but so she just decided, why not give this a try? And she just wanted for me to play something different than guitar, because that's what everybody in my family played. So she just branched out and looked around, and there was a violin teacher in my hometown, and so that was the story of that.
Right. Well, did she pick up on the fact that you had a really great voice when you were pretty young when you started singing, or?
I don't know if she knew I was going to be any good, but I definitely started singing from almost the time that I could talk. She always says that when I was a year old, Tom Petty's Free Fallin' had just come out, and I was sitting on the kitchen table, I guess, in my kitchen chair, and she was singing it. She was singing, "She's a good girl," and then I went, "Loves her mama," and so I remember actually her taking me places and trying to get me to do that for people, like that's probably one of my earliest memories is her being like, "Sing it, Noah, sing it," and so that was a year old, so I think after that I probably didn't shut up, so.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't, and she obviously knew. She probably had an intuition that you were going to have a passion there. Obviously, I think. And God, I love Tom Petty, so
yeah,
and that's a great song. But who was your idol or mentor when you first realized that you had a strong passion for music? And you wanted to do something with it. Did you have an idol or mentor that you sort of followed? Kind of keep you inspired?
I have so many. I mean, there's so many people that I just like so many different kinds of music, and I think, that's the thing that I enjoy most in my life is when I really find something new and I just geek out on it. And like recently, I got obsessed with the Eagles after documentary came out about them, and so I've literally now, that was 2 years ago, I've got everything that they ever recorded, and I've also been listening to certain members of the band, like what they did before the Eagles or whatever. Like, I mean, I get obsessed about different things. So I don't know, when I was young, I always loved the classic rock, but it's really kind of hard to see any direct correlation between the music that I loved and the music that I was playing sometimes. I mean, one band that really did put bluegrass on the map for me was a band called Nickel Creek. They were a really great trio of music, you know, somewhat, you could say, similar to what we do. And they were one of the first ones, I think, to, you know, they were a gateway band for a lot of people like me that liked bluegrass, but it took a while for me to really learn to appreciate the very old stuff. And so for me, they were the band that kind of opened that door, and then I went further and further down the rabbit hole of bluegrass, and now, you know, having a great appreciation for all of the bluegrass greats. And you know, so it kind of took somebody making it cool to me as a adolescent, you know, for me to really give the rest of that music a chance.
Right. Is there anybody today that you sort of follow a little bit, like as you're developing your own style? Is there anyone that stands out today to you, or is it still just, you know, a whole bunch of different genres?
It's definitely a whole bunch. I mean, but I guess, you know, I'm influenced by a lot of different singers. I love Eva Cassidy. I love Patty Griffin. I really loved the Dixie Chicks when they were around, and still love their albums, especially the one that was more bluegrassy. It's called Home. I love songwriters. I love Neil Young. I love you know, Paul Simon. I think the Eagles are great songwriters. You know, so it's more, I guess, just music in general. I love it all. Right now I'm on a heavy metal kick, and I'm listening to Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden and Metallica. So, you know, I don't think you're going to hear that really come out necessarily in our acoustic music, but I don't know, something about it just, it's like battery power. It's like if I don't have something to listen to and really get into, my battery dies, you know. So I just have to constantly be digging up stuff, and mostly I feel like I'm catching up on hundreds of years of great music that, you know, I have a hard time keeping up with what's current, because I'm just so, like, my head is so far gone in the past, you know. So maybe I need to branch out and turn on the radio once in a while.
Well, no, but everybody that you have named has really been named by most of the people I've interviewed, young, no matter what age the guest has been on my show. So I think those people have been very impressionable on so many musicians, whether, you know, even the ones that are young, starting today, like you. But I wanted to tell you, for you to tell the viewers a little bit about that time period when you first started writing music, because it sounds to me like the compositions, from what I read, kind of came before you actually decided on the instrumentals and the style. And I think that's sort of the time that you met Tommy, and I'm going to quote you here, because I'm going to quote Country Weekly anyway. You said, I started writing songs, and the songs that I wrote kind of fit into this acoustic world better than they would anywhere else. And I don't think the songs would work with bass, drums, and electric guitars. Is that how? Tell us about that time where you started writing music, and how you developed into what you're doing today.
Yeah, I think what I said is pretty spot on. You know, I just never really, for a long time, I don't even think I knew that I wanted to play music, but when I started having this urge to write, the songs just kind of came out, and I wasn't trying to write in any certain style. But I knew that I played fiddle, and then I was, you know, just just kind of figuring it out from there. And acoustic made sense because I played the fiddle, and Tommy at the time, he was playing acoustic guitar, and eventually he started playing the mandolin. And then I was introduced to the school that I ended up going to, East Tennessee State University. And I have to say that experience, it shaped a lot of my musical future, because they have a bluegrass, old time, and country music major there. When I was there, it was just a minor. So I went to school for that. I went to school for bluegrass, you know, and I think going there and being steeped in that for a while kind of also shaped it. But I had songs even before I went there, and somehow, yeah, it just fit acoustically. It fit also because the people that I knew and started playing with played acoustic, and you know, so all of it kind of came together just at a perfect storm, I guess, you know, and I wouldn't say that now we would necessarily be against one day branching out and seeing what the songs sounded like with a bigger band, you know, like with drums and things. But I think the heart of it will always be acoustic, and it'll sound acoustic, but maybe just a little bit bigger. But that's not anything we're looking to do anytime soon, because right now we can't afford any more musicians. Four is about what's making a living for us right now, and anything more might stretch it a little far. But so yeah, I think it made sense, and no matter what, I think the core of our sound will probably always lie around these acoustic instruments.
Right. Now, when you write a song, when you're thinking about writing a song, does the melody come first? Do you find yourself just humming something, or do the lyrics kind of come first for you?
It can be either, and it can also be both. Sometimes a line will pop in my head, and I'll just sing it. And I mean, I really don't have like a method, but usually you need to have at least one or the other. If you have some kind of pentameter, you know, like a rhythm that the lyrics move in, then I can write more lyrics to match that rhythm, but it's better to have a melody to follow it. So usually I'm doing both at the same time, and a lot of times it's usually, I think, just a line that will pop in my head, just words, but very often as well it can be a melody. But I think I'm such a word-centered person. Like I love lyrics more than just about anything. Like I've never written an instrumental, you know, that I wanted to keep instrumental, because I just like words so much, and I just love the things people say in songs. And so you know, usually I'd say lyrics first, but it can happen any number of ways, you know, just
Right.
whatever strikes.
Do you keep like a notepad with you and then the lyrics will come and you'll write them down and save them for later, or is it just something you just sit down and focus on? And
You have to keep something with you, because you can't always sit down and focus as much as you might like to. I have, you know, like a notebook, but then I have a notepad in my purse. I have my iPad that if I might type something down on there, I might type it on my phone. Whatever's in arm's length is what I'll use. But then, yeah, if you're gonna finish something, you take all those scattered pieces of paper and try to make it something cohesive.
Right. What do you
I'm sorry, that question got a little tangled.
Okay. Do you do most of the songwriting for the band for the band now? Is it mostly you, or do some of the others contribute? Or
thus far, it's mostly been me, just because, you know, we've had some lineup changes, and the two main members, you know, from day one have just been me and Tommy. But since, you know, for the last 4 years, we've had Hazy, and then we had Alex for the last 2, and so now that we're kind of, you know, making more sense of being a band together, I think we're going to try and do more collaborative stuff. Tommy and I have written quite a few songs together, and what will end up happening is he'll write something musical, and I'll end up putting words and a melody to that. And I love doing that because he writes things that I would probably never write chord-wise, because he's more gifted on his instrument. You know, I play the fiddle. It's hard for me to write on the fiddle. So he writes, you know, chordal things on the guitar or the mandolin, and will bring it to me. And so that's been pretty successful between the two of us. And now, you know, hopefully we'll branch out and incorporate some things from the other two. But every song that I bring in, you know, I bring it in pretty bare. I bring it in with just the lyrics, the melody, and whatever chords that I have chosen. And a lot of times, Alex he knows a lot of different alternate chords and things that can work and make it sound cool. So, you know, he and Hazy and Tommy will arrange the songs, you know, and it completely takes on a new life. And I love that, and I like that process. And so I think it is yielded. We've got 5 new songs right now that we did that with, and you know, it's just always good if you can find a way to do it, to have other input, you know, from other people. So.
Right. Well, now Tommy studied classical, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and you were off to study bluegrass at East Tennessee State. How did you two just have this meeting of the minds to lean towards bluegrass and start building a band?
I think when Tommy started playing the mandolin, I think this is where he saw himself going. But he does love classical music. He loves jazz music, and a lot in his spare time he does a lot of composing, just for the heck of it. That you know, we're not probably going to play some of his more orchestral stuff in our band, but you know, he definitely uses that knowledge, and I think that the knowledge that he gained in college, I mean, he knows a lot of music theory. He's, you know, and that's really helpful, you know, to kind of have the brains of the operation there, you know, to explain some things. But I don't know. I mean, we were kind of already playing our music before he went to college and before I went to college. So it was kind of already there, and I think everything that we did in college was supposed to, we kind of had that on the back burner, you know, knowing that this was the music that we were going to try to make, and then everything that we learned just kind of, you know, contributed to that and just made it, you know, a stronger force.
Right. Well, been together 5 years now on stage, and last year you were awarded the IMBA Momentum Award, which is, I'll tell the viewers, is the International Bluegrass Association, Music Association, and it was instituted in, I guess, 2012 is what I read, to recognize musicians who have influenced bluegrass music in their early stages of their career. So this is a really, this was powerful that you guys were nominated and then won this award last year. Can you tell a little bit about this experience and what this has done for you as a band and you know, how it's keeping you pressing forward?
Yeah, it was a shock to us. You know, I don't know who nominated us or what, but you know, I think it probably came along and at a really good time because, you know, earlier in the year we'd had a lineup change, and well, it was actually a year and a half earlier. Sorry, I got my years mixed up. You know, and it was kind of a good omen, at least for us internally, to think that, hey, maybe we're doing something right, you know, people are noticing. And I think the biggest thing about IBMA is that it reaches so many people, and it's such a huge conference that even if nothing like directly, I would say, has necessarily happened because of it, we were so, I mean, doorbell's ringing, sorry. We were, there it goes again.
That's okay.
It's distracting. people know our name now, I think, in the bluegrass world, and that just means that can help. It was just great advertising, you know, and it helped, you know, a lot. We got awarded also, just as part of the prize was a gift certificate to Airplay Direct, which is a radio program that a lot of broadcasters use, and so it was like a promotional thing, and so there we were, you know, our face really big on this Airplay Direct website, and then people can come and download it and play it on their shows, and we got a lot of attention from that, and you know, I think it was a really nice thing, and we were really appreciative of it, you know, just because we've been a band for a long time, and granted, we've always been in school. We've been for a long time. You know, I didn't graduate till 2011, and the band started in '07.
Wow.
And then we had band members still in school. Hazy just graduated this May, and so a lot of times we were spending was you know during the summer and on the weekends. And so it was a very slow climb to being able to do it full time, and so. Getting that award was just like, all right, you're on the right track, you know, it's worth it, don't give up, keep going, keep up the momentum. I think it's a great title, Momentum Award, you know, and it is sitting in my office at home. It's a nice little trophy, and, you know, it's just a nice little reminder that people are listening. Just give them something to listen to.
Well, I think that's great, and that's you certainly should be very proud of that. And I like the title too. I like that momentum. That was really cool that they named it that. And that's a huge honor to be for you guys so young in your career to receive that award. Now, how are you continually working together to keep developing your style and keeping your own identities? And who decided on? I guess I'm curious as to how the name, the Barefoot Movement, came to be your brand.
You know, people ask me that all the time, and it's the weirdest thing. I don't really have an explanation for it other than it just popped into my head. And I remember the moment that it did. I was living at home, very young, and I went outside to feed my dog at night before I went to bed. And Mom had, you know, a place where we would always kick our shoes off before we went into the house. And so I go to the door, put my shoes on, go feed the dog. And when I got out there, I just looked down and realized, wow, I have on two different shoes. Whoops. And I don't know why, when I looked at my two shoes on two different feet, that phrase just popped into my head. And we had been trying to think of a band name, and I think it just was destiny. It just chose me, and it was, I think, like, you know, we do play barefooted. It's kind of a shtick, I suppose, but it's kind of, you know, letting people know that, and the reason that it felt so right is because, you know, you can look at barefooted as like a hippie thing, but for me it was just, and I guess it kind of is, you know, it kind of touches on all walks of that, you know, like being close to nature and all that, but especially it's just like I said, you know, like when we went into the house, we'd take our shoes off, and that was kind of a, you know, a southern thing, you know, come on in, take your shoes off and stay a while and hang out, you know, and so it kind of just, it means like relax, openness, you're at home, you know, you're don't have anything to worry about because you're not, you know, once your shoes are off, you're there for a while and you don't have to worry about anything. And that's what our shows are all about, you know, like we're not ever going to be, I think, a really political band. We just feel like our mission in life is to make people happy and to entertain people and do that, you know, not in a way that's not pleasing to us. I mean, we write these songs. I'm writing songs about the human experience. You know, I just want people to have a good time and to really, you know, there's just so much, there's enough crap to deal with in the world,
Right.
you know, and so it's just, you know, for our 2 45-minute sets or whatever, you know, you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And so for us to play barefooted, I think is kind of invitation, and it lets people know, okay, that's what this is all about, you know. And even if we're dressed up real fancy, you know, because we like to do that sometimes, we still got our shoes off, so it's still, you know, that it's still down to earth on that level.
Well, I got it right away. I mean, as soon as I saw you and your bare feet and everything, the message was very clear to me that you're just inviting people to relax, have an easy breezy kind of enjoyable time, just listening to music, happy music. So in an informal setting. So I think I love the name. I really do. So, and I think it's cool kind of how it just came to you. And sometimes those are the most powerful ideas, are the ones that just kind of come to you out of nowhere like that. So I think it's great. It's worked well. So now I know you went through some obstacles after, and it was actually after you told me before the interview. I was wrong. I said the first album, but it was after the second. Is that right? When yeah. But you and I know Quentin Akers, and you also, I read where you had at some point had added Hassie, who you said was the missing link. And now I'm not sure who stepped in, Hassie before Alex or whatever, but how did that change? Because that's pretty cool. You said she was the missing link, so she's obviously added something very cool that for you to say that.
You know, I always wanted 3-part harmony, and before her, we just didn't have it. And so that was what was really special to me there, is getting that voice, that third voice, and a female voice. You know, and Quentin, yeah, he left in 2013, and you know, it was just one of those things. You know, Quentin was really good and a lot of fun on stage, but he just didn't. The touring life is hard, and I think he wanted to be home more, and sometimes we all do. You know, it is not easy. And so Hazy, she had actually already joined and was on that album, and so then after Quentin left, we kind of spent a summer figuring it out. We had a number of different guitar players just doing fill-in dates, and then when we met Alex. The first time we met him, you know, we just kind of thought it was going to be a once or twice thing, because he lived in Nashville, and we lived about 5.5 hours, or 4, maybe 5, I don't know, something like that, hours away. So we didn't really see it going anywhere with him just because of the distance, but it ended up making the most sense after a while that he was really the one that we really needed, and we loved him, and it just started to make. It slowly started to dawn on us, you know, like, well, what? I know there's a distance thing, but this is the guy we need. And so for about a year, he did a lot of driving back and forth to us, and eventually once Hazy, well, actually, we ended up moving to Nashville in April of 2014, right? Yeah, it was last year, and that made sense, because the only reason we were still living in East Tennessee was because we had band members in school there at ETSU, and so once Tommy and I, you know, we just all decided, okay, I guess we need to make a move to Nashville, and Hazy was actually still in school, but she was doing online classes. So anyway, we took off for Nashville and haven't looked back, and it's been great. To be all in the same zip code for a while, and not quite so much driving, which, you know, bands do that. A lot of bands do have, you know, they just meet up, you know, on the road, and, you know, they just kind of have to handle it that way. But I just think for right now it made more sense for us to all kind of be in the same place, and, you know, it was a rough transition for, you know, a few weeks, but you know, I think it was all steps towards the right direction, and you know, we're much, I think, stronger now, and after having been through, you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and so, you know, it's been a really, really good a good 2 years with Mr. Alex Connerly.
That's great though. That's great. Because, you know, I also read, and your band was chosen to represent the United States for an embassy tour of Burkina, I hope I'm saying this right, Burkina Faso, Africa, as
Sounds
part
good
of
to me.
okay, as part of the Arts Envoy program. What, I mean, how did you guys get chosen to represent the United States for that, and what did you bring home from this trip?
You know, sometimes I can't, it's like, it dawns on me that I've actually been to Africa, and I'm like, wait a minute. You know, it was the most amazing thing. And it's another situation of, we knew a guy who knew a guy. We were never expecting it. We didn't seek it out. I used to do some radio work for a station called WDVX out of Knoxville, Tennessee, and one of the volunteers there got in touch with me because he had a friend who was in the Foreign Service in Burkina Faso, and they were looking for a band like us for their 4th of July celebration, because all the embassies have their day, you know, to kind of branch out and invite other members of the cabinet there. And 4th of July is America's Day, so that's a big party at all the embassies. And they all want to have something special and something that's, to them, very representative of America. And they chose bluegrass music because the ambassador in Burkina Faso's wife was from Kentucky. And so that's why they were looking for some, you know, music like us. And it was a very, I mean, it was just like, do you want to do this? Okay. And then we started the process, and we were there for 2 weeks, and we played not only that 4th of July party at the embassy, but we also played at orphanages, primary schools. We played at homes for women and things. And so I think, you know, there were so many, I mean, it's just hard to say in like a sentence everything you took home from being in something that is, you know, culture that's so completely different from ours. But I think what was most exciting was how much they love music and art and dance, and everywhere that we performed, if we played for them, they considered that like a gift, and they couldn't let us leave without gifting us back. So we would be treated to some of their music and some of their dancing. And I'm not kidding, I don't dance. I cannot dance, but in Africa I can dance, because they really don't, they're not looking at you like, oh my God, you're not getting the steps right. You know, it's just all joy. It's all like, you know, we're all having fun here. And they just wanted to see you have a good time and enjoy their culture the way they enjoyed yours. And so that was such an amazing point, I think, of the whole trip. And we have some great video. We've got to figure out how to post it, of us dancing, and if we wouldn't be too embarrassed. But, you know, it was, yeah, so it was just great. I mean, it was a really wonderful time, and they treated us so well, and it was a trip of a lifetime.
You absolutely should post that and put that in your blog, because I know you're a blogger, and I think that I saw some great pictures, and I tried to print them up, and my printer's is acting up today, so I could not get it printed. But there was one that I saw of Alex sitting on a crocodile, but I swear I thought I saw a picture of all around the crocodile, and I tried to find it again this morning, and I could not find it, so I don't know where I saw that. What was that about? And I'm assuming that was a live crocodile, but
that's another one of those things I can't believe I actually did, because it's sort of, it's like a tourist destination there outside of the city, and they call them sacred crocodiles, and they say that they are a different species from the Nile crocodiles, and that that's what we read, and what I hope is true. And the reason that they're so revered is because of their docile nature. And so it's kind of morbid, but what you end up doing is you buy a chicken, and you take the chicken out there, and it kind of lulls the crocodile into this food coma, and to where he'll just sit there and let you touch him and let you sit on him and stuff, and then they feed him this chicken, and you felt really horrible for the chicken, but these people are absolutely destitute, and so this is their way that they afford, that's their income, and so you just kind of have to let yourself be in Africa, and
Yeah.
and so and everybody was doing it. We were there with an embassy worker who had his infant and his 2-year-old, 2 or 3-year-old, and I mean, it's just kind of, I guess they don't have too many incidents, because they sure haven't, they're in a full swing in that operation, and there's really only one crocodile that will let you touch it, because he's the old one, but the other ones are they're all around you, though. I mean, you're walking, and there was a funny moment when Alex was kind of walking, taking pictures with his phone, and didn't see the crocodile coming up to him from the other direction, so he was like, whoa, and it's like, I'm not kidding, they're everywhere. So I look back on it now and wonder what we were thinking, but they told us it would be fine, and we went for it. So yeah, and it seemed fine at the time, but
well, you could have got, oh God, I would have had a heart attack. But I knew, I had to know what the story was behind that, because I was like, how are they keeping these crocodiles from not eating people? So it's just, I was like, it had to be comatose. But but how do you guys continue to make it work with? I know you moved closer together, but you're touring a lot. So who kind of makes those decisions about where you're going to play and the scheduling? And
well, we have a booking agent, and so she will submit these gig opportunities to us, and if it makes sense, we will take it. I mostly do that. I'm mostly in charge of the schedule. We all kind of have different jobs, and I think that is one thing that has made it work, is kind of splitting up the work. If I'm kind of in charge of touring and sort of like management, and Tommy is our accountant, and Hazy handles promotion and our merchandise, so that kind of all goes hand in hand. And then Alex handles our online presence, especially with video, because we've had to do a lot of weeding through videos and stuff lately, and making sure we're being represented the way we want to be. And that's a full-time job. It really is. And so we've been taking videos at shows and stuff, so he's in charge of editing those videos and things. And so I think having everybody kind of be empowered and doing their job, it helps everybody feel included and feel it's just helps people feel like they're contributing.
Right.
And musically, we just work up new songs when we can, and we're just trying to have like a picture of where we want to be in a few years, and we just keep trying to come up with ideas of how to get there, and nothing is certain.
Right.
But I think the thing about this job is that it is we own our own business, and when you don't have work or you don't have something going on, you have to go out there and make it happen yourself, and so for me it's been great, because I feel like if I had a normal go to work every day type job, it would be a lot different, and I've learned what it means to be the business owner and to be an employer. Not that I mean, we're all kind of the owners, but we all are our own employees. We employ ourselves, and so I think it's just we all see what it takes to be successful, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of dedication, and I think having people in the band that know that has definitely helped us move forward. So.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like everybody's contributing. And I noticed that your band, this was this year, I believe, your band placed second in the 2015 Telluride Bluegrass Festival competition. And I read that your ability to perform under pressure eloquently was a big important part of the judging, and it was like a test of nerves as much as your skills. Was this a high pressure day for you guys in this contest?
Absolutely. I really don't like competing because I just kind of feel like, you know, music is so subjective, and it's really kind of hard to say this is better than this, you know, like when it's so different. But I think those competitions are really good, not only because you're exposed to a lot of people, you're also, the other bands you meet, everybody's in it for the same reasons, and everybody, I mean, like, the band that actually beat us, and this was in 2014 actually, they were called Front Country, and they're just great friends. I mean, we see them everywhere. For a long time, they were on our same booking agency roster, and, you know, we just met a lot of people that we still keep in contact with. But as far as pressure, yeah, I mean, that happened about 2 weeks after Quentin left, our guitar player, and so we had to fly in a guitar player that we hardly had played with, you know, and so for that reason especially, it was like, you know, it changed the whole feeling of performing, because, you know, people are watching you for specific things, you know, it's not just they're there to enjoy the music, and they're paying extreme attention, so you have to be spot on, and I think, you know, it was a valuable experience. I don't really think we'll be doing any more competitions, but that I know of. But it was because even the Momentum Awards, you know, I'm just not a competitive person, and I mean, all the other people that were nominated for that were so good, and I'm just like, you know, it really could have been any of us, and I'm always just so, you know, thankful to be recognized at all. And so, but yeah, to your main question, absolutely, the pressure was pretty intense, but all the more exciting when it was over, you know, and it was like, well, it's over, and, you know, we did our best, and all right, on to the next gig, you know, let's go to New Mexico, and so, yeah.
Well, you guys certainly have worked hard and earned all your, you know, recognition, and you've had some amazingly exciting opportunities come your way. I know experiences. You were invited, I had seen where you were invited to Johnny Cash's home recording studio in Hendersonville, Tennessee, and which is, I read, is now operated by his son, John Cash Jr. The studio cabin is on the same property where he and June lived for years, I guess. Is that?
That's right. Yeah, their house, the house they lived in actually burned down. It was a really sad story. One of the Bee Gees had bought it and was fixing it up and stuff, and there was an electrical fire in the process. So the house is no longer there, but the cabin is, where they recorded some of their records. And that wasn't really anything like, you know, we were invited because we were the Barefoot Movement. We just, we had a friend that was going to be there for a showcase for another band, and it was kind of like a meet and greet type thing, and so she just invited us, and we got to go, and it's just another perk of having friends, you know, well, hey, you know, sure, we'll come. I actually live in Hendersonville, so I live like, I mean, because it's right outside of Nashville, so it was like 2 minutes from my house, and so I'm like, well, I know where Johnny Cash lived now, and it's funny because it's right near Johnny Cash Parkway, there in Hendersonville. So that was a neat experience to see all that memorabilia and be in that room and feel the music coming out of it. It was a cool place.
Oh yeah, and then I saw last week you got to meet Timothy Schmidt, the bass guitar player for the Eagles and Poco. What that had to be pretty cool too. So
talk about putting stuff out into the universe. I mean, literally 2 years ago, I got absolutely obsessed with the Eagles after seeing that documentary, because the documentary was so moving to me because it was the story of a band, and anybody that's been in a band knows how hard it is, and all the obstacles that they went through, I felt like I had been through, but on a much smaller scale. You know, they're the Eagles. So I just was so into their music, and I had actually even, Tommy took me to see them for my birthday, you know, a year or two ago. And so just, you know, we met a guy in Wisconsin at a festival who has become a really great friend, and he's an engineer in Los Angeles, works on a lot of records, and he knows Timothy. He works on a lot of his records. And so we were on tour, and we had this day off, and Hank says, how would you like to go see the Eagles and maybe get backstage passes and meet Timothy? And we were like, duh, you know, like, of course. And so, you know, again, we knew somebody who knew somebody, and we've just been so lucky and blessed. And so, yeah, we got to go, and we had my backstage pass in my wallet still, and it was very, I mean, they run a tight ship backstage. You know, you can't just go wandering around back there. So we were escorted to his room and met with him for a minute, and escorted out. You know, and I completely understand why they do that. It was neat. It was neat to see what it's like for the big timers. But you know, then we got 11th row seats and watched the Eagles play, and it was just an incredible show, an incredible night, and you know, something I'll never forget. That's for sure.
Well, you certainly did put that out in the universe, because when you said you were hooked on the Eagles now, I was like, well, that's, you know, you've had a lot of great things that have come to you and opportunities, but what would you say was your most memorable, because I know I got to let you go soon, or moment in your career so far? And I wanted to, because I read in your blog that you did your first Christmas tour in December of 2014, and I wanted this Christmas tour was in Cincinnati, and it proved to be, from what I read in your blog, very inspirational, because there was her newborn child only after a few hours, and you had been really worried, you said, about the technical issues, and yet your music and tour touched the lives. It was a real eye-opener for you. Tell about that experience, because even with the technical worries, you were, you know, what really mattered, you said, at the end of the day was your music, and it meant something to those who listened. And I was going to quote you from your blog. You said it reminds us that people don't remember every solo or vocal trick you pulled off. They remember how your music made them feel. And the funny thing is, you said, while they might say that we blessed them with our performance, you felt the opposite was true, because getting that kind of feedback was the greatest gift anyone can give us, and it made the whole thing worthwhile and meaningful. So what was that experience with the woman in Cincinnati?
Yeah, she was a big, you know, the Christmas tour was an idea that we weren't really sure how it was going to go. We worked up 16 Christmas classics, and so we did, like, first half of the show was Barefoot Movement music, and then we did Christmas music, and that show was the first one of the Christmas tour, so the first time that we had stepped out and played this new material. And we also had just gotten these things. These are our in-ear monitors, which help us hear, because with the microphone setup that we use, we can't use regular floor monitors because there'll be too much feedback. And so it was the first night using these, and that is a big transition. It changes. It's so different because it blocks out everything. And so I had so much on my mind. I wasn't really sure how it was going. And this family came to see us, and, you know, after the show, she came up to me and said that she just hadn't really been able to enjoy the holiday season since her son had lost his child right around that time. And she said, you brought Christmas back for me, you know, because these are songs that I used to sing as a kid. And, you know, and I don't say all that at all to brag on us or anything, because you know, if it had been up to me, I would have just thought it was a terrible night, you know, and it just made me remember what I was doing it for, you know, and there have been so many moments like that. They told us in Africa, these poor women that we played at a women's home, they were women that had been ejected from their families because they'd been accused of witchcraft. And in Africa, that's very normal. And if they accuse you of witchcraft, they don't have to take care of you. The husband can divorce you, and then you have nowhere to go. And so these are like the most, like, it was such a sad circumstance, and they're operating on basically nothing. And they said to us, you know, we'd love to thank you, and we'll try to thank you as best we can with words, but we don't really have to, because God will bless you for what you've done for us here today, and that kind of thing. And just things like that, you know, take you out. I mean, because sometimes you just feel like, am I really doing something good in the world? Am I making a difference? And that's all we want to do. And it's not so much about self-promotion as it is, you know, making people, you know, enjoy themselves. And even if the band blows up and, you know, we quit and go be school teachers, and, you know, that's my backup plan, then you know, I will have so many of these wonderful memories of things people said to me, and I hope to continue to remember to write them down, you know, because those have been really the best moments. You know, I could think of good performances or awards or whatever, but, you know, those person-to-person moments have been the most rewarding thing from doing this so long.
Wow, that's pretty awesome, and that had to be a powerful moment. Both those stories. So, you know, your career is just the way that you guys are going about everything is. It's very impressionable, and it's very you're making a difference, I think, and you're paving a way for a lot of other musicians who want to go after their dream as well. And I don't know, you have such a great spirit and great attitudes, and I like where you're going. So I know that I've got to let you go, but I know you've got 2 full albums, The Footwork, which was released in 2011, and your second one was Figures of the Year in 2013, and then you've also got the High Road EP that I think you released that a year ago. What are your plans for the Barefoot Movement? What's your guys' goal over the next? What have you got your sights set on?
Well, right now we have a live album that is, I haven't announced a release date yet because, you know, it's just so many things are up in the air, but it is being mastered right now. We're just trying to get the artwork together, so that'll be, you know, just something for our fans and something to kind of show people what we're like live, if they haven't heard us. And then we are going to try to squeeze in a Christmas album before we do the Christmas tour this year. No promises there, though, because we're just going to see how it goes. But we have the material. We just have to refresh it and, you know, make sure we have the time to get it done right. After that, we want to do a full-length album. We're working on material for that. So we have all these things, like, happening at once, and it's just we're trying to keep everything in perspective. And so hopefully we will get that live album in the works. I'm sorry, new full-length album in the works next year. And ultimately, we're hoping to make the next step. We need to find, we've got our booking agent, but we're looking for management and, you know, maybe wanting to release this next one on a label, you know, or not. You know, it just, whatever makes sense when the time comes is what we'll do. And I guess, you know, ultimately the goal is to just keep making music for a living and keep making it more and more sustainable. And as long as we can do that, and as long as we're moving forward and it doesn't feel like we're taking steps backward, I think we'll keep going.
Well, I know you guys, you're already doing great, so I know you've got a bright future ahead. And I know you're performing tonight, so I hate to end this, but I know I've got to let you go.
I need a shower.
Yeah, you've been so great to be here, and I know you sound like you, and look like you're feeling better than you did earlier in the week. But I just wanted to give you a big thanks because I know you hadn't been feeling well, and give you a virtual hug for being here today, because I'm so glad that you were able to do this. You're such an inspiration, and you have a beautiful spirit and very promising career ahead. I love your voice. I've had a lot of great response with your music on social media, and I do look forward to meeting you, the rest of your band, somewhere in the near future. So, and I wanted the viewers to know if they can learn more about you. I believe it's just Barefoot, but you got to put the hyphen, barefoot-movement.com, and make sure you follow tamarahscloset.com. I'll have the replay of this in my blog, in the Celebrity Closet section of my blog, as well as you can see my other live, and also have an upcoming article on the Barefoot Movement. So thanks to all my viewers for your continued support, and join me next week because I'm going to be interviewing Mike Lemon. He's the lead vocals for the Midnight Rambler. It's a wonderful alternative rock band from the UK. So thanks again for joining us. Thanks. Noah, was there anything else you needed to announce before we leave? Or
like us on Facebook.
yeah, find them on Facebook too, and Twitter. You're on Twitter as well. So, so thanks for joining Tamarah's Closet, and I'll see you